It's been a recent discussion over Broly versus Jiren yet again. And I know a lot of y'all are tired of hearing about this, but with the recent I sound like Dr. Doya. With the recent announcement of Budokai Tenkaichi 4, with the recent arc of superhero retelling, people get mad at me for ranting because it's a retelling, and I'm tired of retellings in Dragon Ball Super. This is like the third or fourth time at this point. But we've gotten new information. People understanding that superhero indeed takes place after the granola arc. No matter how many magazines said it and all this stuff, people need this confirmation. And with that confirmation, we have to deal with certain statements that was made in that movie. And Jiren and Broly is brought back up again. And we already know the statements previously. We had Toritaro and his editor mentioning that UI Goku has to compete with Whis, the Grand Priest, and Dan Broly, and Beerus. And everything's been getting kind of contradicted and mixed with Jiren ever since post Universal Rival Saga. People still believing that Goku didn't get that much stronger and that Jiren is still relevant in terms of power. And it doesn't help either where Vegeta's statement either taken out of context or within context, mentioning that Jiren wasn't that much stronger than Goku and Vegeta, just know how to use his power to the mightiest degree when it makes no sense. Is insane, man. It's insane work. It's like saying if like perfected blue Goku fought UI Goku, if we could just use his power right, he can beat UI. Like, what are we doing? But anyway, my boy MJXTV is here. How you doing, buddy? Tell me how you feel about this topic before we get into it, man.
What's going on, man? Thank you for having me back on your channel. And it's interesting because you and I have been around in the fandom for a long time, and it's almost like the reverse of what happened in 2018 or 2019 when Broly came out. When Broly came out, people were swearing on their mamas that he was not stronger than Jiren. Like, yep. Goku didn't use UI, like, they didn't even use Blue Kaioken or Blue Evolution, like, this don't make no sense, how they just left to go fuse, all this stuff, and then you skip forward to now, what, 4 or 5 years later, and then you got people now screaming, oh yeah, so Jiren really wasn't that much stronger, Vegeta spin, let him cook, that makes a lot of sense, yeah, you know what, Broly could smack him, Beerus could smack him without his angel powers, that makes so much sense. Okay.
Vegeta never underestimates his opponents, bro. He never does any of that, man.
I feel like we've been discussing Broly and Jiren comparisons for years now, and it's back up again. I don't know if it'll ever go away until we see these guys fight. It's kind of like the Kid Buu and Buhan stuff, but that's a whole other discussion that I did talked about in the past, funny enough, in our Vegeta video. But
yep.
Nonetheless, I'm interested, dude. I want to hear your thoughts on this. Superhero's been out for a minute now. We're in the manga retelling. So, what are your thoughts on Broly scaling to Jiren or above Jiren or even below? Like what are your thoughts now?
It's the tough situation because I think I've seen a lot of cope with people handling it by saying that, well, Broly is a lot stronger in superhero. You know what I mean? Because there's been so many contradicting statements with the Broly stuff. Because, like, we have Broly from the Broly movie, and there's even some statements saying that Broly had control of his power. He could have beat Gogeta. And I'm just like, what? then you got the Cell Max situation where, like, if Cell Max was, like, I don't know, because it's weird. It's saying that if he was 100% complete, he would be this unstoppable monster even Broly couldn't be able to beat. But then in the manga or in the movie, it says that Cell Max is complete. He just can't be controlled by the Red Ribbon Army. And then it's like, okay, well, to justify that, Broly's a lot stronger than he was in the Broly movie because it's like, because then you have the Gammas, they're on the same level as maybe Blue Evolved Vegeta and UI Sign Goku or whatever from the Moro arc or whatever. Then you got the whole superhero was made right after Broly, and it was made even before the Granola arc, and they're trying to justify things. And then you have the stuff where, like, Broly in the Broly movie was said to be probably stronger than Beerus, and we've seen the Beerus goalpost move forever in the manga, and now it's going to be translated to the anime. So for people that was coping saying that the anime at least has UI Goku above Beerus, that's not going to even matter now. It's just, I think a lot of people are just trying to find whatever evidence that fits their narrative. And I think I've gotten to the point now that I just trust the video games portrayal more than anything else, man. Like, because we saw Jiren versus Broly in Xenoverse 2, and they look like rivals. Like,
Yeah.
It's like how like the games handle like UI is like comparable to the Blue Fusions or something. It's like we just got to a point now that the statements and stuff. We're just gonna have to really hope that Toriyama and Toritaro figure out something, because I'm kind of lost, man. Because I will say this. I was Team Jiren for majority of this, because I remember when Broly first came out, he had statements saying that he's stronger than the God Destruction, right? He had the basic statements, and then in the actual movie, Goku saying he could probably be stronger than Beerus. And again, for the people who say, we never see Beerus full strength, Beerus had a black eye fighting all the God Destructions and going all out, and Whis even saying that you're seeing the power of God Destruction. We saw it in the manga, right? And and people don't understand that the Dragon Ball Super movies are canon to the manga and anime. They just are until we get a retelling. So I don't know why people keep acting like they're not canon, whatever. It's just one of those, you got to pick your poison most of the time. The anime is a little bit more canon.
This isn't like 2017 or 2018 anymore. Like the movies, the manga, like they're all taking stuff into consideration now. Like we're seeing little things thrown in and things that are making it into the movies that only happen in the manga, or the manga referencing things that only happen in the movies. Like it's there now, and you're not wrong, because at that point, Goku can sense God Ki, and he even, I think, said himself, this is right before the TOP started, that, yeah, I don't know how long I'm going to last in this fight, because I just saw the God of Destructions fight, and the Grand Priest is like, well, you can fight Topo, he's here. So it's like, you're not wrong there. I think Goku at this point does have some weird gauge of how strong Beerus is. It isn't, like, ambiguous.
Yeah, again, it was all up to the whole, because there's some people's interpretation with Ultra Ego is like, you know how Saitama fans with the limitless fallacy, it's kind of like, well, long as Beerus keeps having his Ultra Ego, he can grow forever, that type of fallacy. So but yeah, to kind of get into it though, it's like Broly had those type of statements, but Jiren was hyped to the nth degree, like hyped to a point that he kind of broke the scaling, to the point that people believe that Kefla can like crap all over Blue Vegito from the Future Trunks saga, especially in like the anime, not so much in the manga. Because if you remember correctly, when Jiren first showed up in the special, this guy was hyped to be the strongest mortal and stronger than all the God Destructions. Again, some people like to debate, only stronger than Belmont, stronger than the God Destructions. There's actual like statements and stuff that actually has both of those. It's not only just stronger than his God Destruction. Like living the manga, it says stronger than the God Destruction level, and Beerus is a part of that level. But again, I think Beerus, it just doesn't count, and we're just going to ignore all that. But it just, Jiren had a lot more statements and overall like over the top like statements showing that. And
don't forget those TV guides that were saying he was the strongest character in history. And of course, it took place before Broly was introduced, quote unquote. But like, even when we go to like the basic level, it's like Goku and Vegeta, for some weird reason, only used regular Blue. They didn't use Blue Evolved, whatever. And again, Blue Evolved is canon to the manga as well. And Blue Kaioken, either you want to say he's using Blue Kaioken S powers in the manga, that all happened in either lore there, and they didn't use that. And for the people who believe, because remember when Ultra Instinct first came out, people thought this form was unbeatable. Like they thought this form was like way stronger than the fusions. And it's like this whole big debate if Ultra Instinct Goku is stronger than Gogeta Blue. Now people are trying to argue that no, if Ultra Instinct happened the same time as a Blue Fusion, that the Blue Fusion is gonna be way stronger. Like people are like trying to downplay Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego's multipliers now. So it's a really tough thing. And now like with the recent chapters, it doesn't seem like Broly has gotten that much stronger, because Goku is able to like keep up in his base form and everything like that. He's just controlling his abilities more. Probably gonna see in the next chapter. But in my personal opinion, I would say that for me, I think Jiren has lost a lot of hype, and I think it's just more of like Jiren at full power with his shirt off and all the other stuff he's got going on. He has Ultra Instinct type aura. He's probably just a rival to Broly, and maybe he'll be able to beat Broly because he has more control of his power. But I've just never really thought that is like a big difference. But maybe train Broly post superhero, he's probably stronger, and maybe that's how we're going to justify things. Yeah, I think you make a lot of sense. I think narratively, plus just the actions that Goku and Vegeta take, are there to show that they probably are rivals. I mean, you could probably make an argument that like when Broly really rages out, like that's the Broly like at the very end of the Gogeta fight right before the body shots, like maybe that Broly would just kind of throw Jiren around, maybe. But even then. And what I mean by narrative is just going off of the superhero movie and the current manga retelling. It hasn't finished yet, but of the recent chapter, like you have Vegeta paying respects to Jiren, you know, like yeah,
Oh,
he
I
did
forgot
this,
even
he did
mentioned
that.
that. Go ahead.
Yeah, like he did this, he did that, but then you also have Goku paying respects to Broly, like prioritizing him, like, you know, we need to train, and logically going off of the fact that this takes place at the Granola arc, we would just have to imagine that like they're training in preparation for Frieza. Like I think that
Yeah,
just
Black
makes sense,
Frieza, yeah.
you know. So I think like there's a narrative thing there where both Goku and Vegeta are paying respects to each character. So yeah, I think they both put them like on high pedestals, which is interesting because they didn't really seem to care too much about them in the Granola arc. But regardless of that fact, you know, I just think that makes sense. So I do think you're right. I feel like maybe Jiren, you know, enraged, or what's the video game Limit Breaker Jiren, whatever form they call him.
Yeah, like they
that
either went from Limit Breaker to like full power Jiren or something. Even though he was at full power before that, and he powered up to full power. Then when he started losing the Ultra Instinct Goku, did he like unlock the hidden power? But you know, video games would be wrong.
I feel like that Jiren could probably put up a fight, like you said, and be a rival. But at the same time, though, if Broly, when he's completely raged out and just going insane, if he were to defeat Jiren, I would not be surprised. And I think that probably just makes the most sense that if Broly is stronger, it's not by like this wide gap where like Ikari Broly can just stomp Jiren, you know, like it will probably take the full power version.
Yeah, if we're going by the logic, because it is crazy to me that just being a legendary Super Saiyan, like you're a mutant Saiyan, can make you stronger than like angel abilities, God Destruction abilities, because you're just that guy. But
He's him.
Yeah, like it's crazy just to acknowledge that, because again, we all know Broly was something. But I think there's been some foreshadowing of this, because if you remember in the anime, before they kind of like completely nerfed Kale or like nerfed her portrayal, but every time Kale wild out, they use Jiren to show, you know, they either take her out or have Jiren break meditation when Kale was going full legendary Super Saiyan mode. But then when she gained control of her powers and turned Super Saiyan 2, Goku was able to beat her in a weakened God state. It's like it did, like in the manga, you had like legendary Super Saiyan Kale like pretty much body everyone in there, and Jiren, I think he did acknowledge it. I don't remember fully, but I would say this: like we can argue, I guess if we're going by superheroes betrayal, that Broly has more raw power, but Jiren has a lot more control, so he probably would win. Like he'll probably lose to a Broly who knew how to fight. And because I know that some people say like because Vegeta said that Broly's learning how he while he fights, it doesn't make him a martial artist though. It just makes him a brawler. If we have Broly who's a martial artist and has full control of his ki and like had like a legendary Super Saiyan 2 like Kale or something, I guess he would be stronger than Gogeta Blue or some crazy stuff like that. But again, I think it's just one of those things people need to understand that Broly's no longer considered stronger than Beerus at this point. At least at this point in the story. And pretty much anyone else considered stronger than Beerus is probably just doesn't count. But I just have a hard time believing that, because remember, we already got confirmation that Goku and Vegeta, especially Goku after beating Moro, was the strongest in the universe before Granola and Gas made their wish. He was. So they didn't count Broly, and Broly's a rival to Jiren. So like they was both surpassed by like Moro and all these people. Like even Goku said that Moro, even though people like to argue the difference in toughness, but he was tougher than Broly, and Broly was only able to survive Gogeta because how tough he was. So, yeah, I would say like, in my personal opinion, my personal scaling, I still believe that Broly, Movie Broly, and Jiren from the Tournament of Power is weaker than Moro, Granola, and Gas. But if we're talking about like current train Broly, current train Jiren, they could probably be, you know, above those people now. That's just my personal take. I just think we need some type of consistency. We can't keep having characters we haven't seen or done anything or seen no training just pop out of nowhere and say they was always stronger when it makes no sense narratively for Goku to be training in like a weird hyperbolic time chamber for like a month to 6 months with Beerus, or Vegeta doing yard jet training where his blue evolved form increased dramatically with spirit training. Then he unlocks ultra ego by blowing up logs and shit, and all this stuff. And then Goku unlocking true ultra instinct, then having the ability to use perfected all ultra instinct on top of that with his avatar form, to all be weaker than like Broly or some stuff like that. It doesn't make sense to me. So that's how I feel about it. And again, if y'all believe that Broly from the Broly movie was always stronger than Jiren, then I would just say this: maybe he is, but he's probably not going to win a fight.
Yeah.
Like that's like my argument there. It's kind of like how some people like to argue that like that Goku Black will lose to certain people, but again, if he's like around the same power level and everything, and he's able to like get stronger, he might win. So like in a true matchup, maybe Jiren is slightly weaker, but I don't believe that Jiren at his full power, like I could, that's insane to me that Jiren that was fighting Ultra Instinct Goku, he was just strong as like Blue Kaioken times 20 or whatever you want to use in the mangas, Blue Goku Vegeta. But this guy was just like compacting his energy to the point that it was Ultra Instinct level. Nah, son. Like we actually saw where we actually saw like Vegeta use Force Spirit Fission, and he tried to give his like God Ki to Vegeta to Goku, and it was barely anything. It only made Goku go to blue, and then Oob's God Ki made him go Ultra Instinct. Like so, like I don't know, man. You can miss me with that. Like it's like the same thing where like superhero tried to convince me that Goku didn't know what meditation was for 0.2 seconds, even though he used meditation in Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and in Dragon Ball Super. He used meditation every time he went to Ultra Instinct. Like, nah, I just feel like certain statements are not going to be. But again, if they are, then hey, go back to this video and like, you know, see our opinions about it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, we're not wrong though, but you know.
Again, I just still think that Jiren has a lot more statements, but if they want to just get rid of all of it because they want to bring Beerus back to the top, again, it just goes back to the argument where like Beerus is killing the story's progression. He's killing it because now things are not making any sense. We went from God Destruction's fighting in a tournament, fighting Toppo, who's a God Destruction candidate, and then fighting angels, and then fighting like all this stuff, but then you're gonna have Vegeta become like a Beerus, like a segregate, or I can't even say that word right. Did I say it correctly? I don't know if I did. And
I don't know either.
And just to lose and all this other stuff, and it's just I don't. It is what it is.
It's like in between Moro and Granola, like Beerus just drank his protein shakes or something, because all of a sudden the Granola arc starts and immediately like, you know, he's above them again, it seems, and then like Vegeta seems to be a stand for Beerus, like, oh, train me, God of Destruction, teach me this ability, you know, like I won't lose to Goku even though I saw what he did to Moro and I had to stand by and do nothing.
It still kills me because I'm laughing because like I remember people kept on making fun of me talking about, you really think Beerus can beat Beerus? Like, yes. Like, we literally saw the few times that Beerus challenged an angel, he got one shot all the time. Like, you would think since he's like a quote-unquote angel, like, in training, even though he's born with Ultra Instinct, that he'll dominate. But no, I guess not. Apparently, he can beat low-tier angels now. Like, what's the point of those different levels? But whatever. That's the end of the video, guys. We're getting into a whole nother debate about Beerus. But let me know in the comment section down below. Do you think Broly just way stronger than Jiren? Who you think wins with Jiren fully trained post turn of power versus Broly is a martial artist or something like? Or do you think Jiren is weaker from the turn of power, is weaker than Broly from the Broly movie? Let me know in the comment section down below, and check out my last video. Well, I guess if I'm not doing my Dobby Endeavor troll video, you can check out my ranking the attacks of Dragon Ball attacks. Check that out. Didn't get that many views. So yeah, SonTJ, peace. And also check out MJ's channel. He does great content as well. Talking about Dragon Ball, horror movies, things like that. So yeah, SonTJ, peace. Love you all.